Europeans, were ignorant of the existence of African gorillas until 1847. In 1859, Emmanuel Frémiet caused great moral outrage in Paris, France, by producing a larger-than-life-size plaster composition sculpture of a gorilla carrying off a lifeless African woman. Nevertheless, because of the moral outrage, the sculpture was a sensational success. Suddenly, the bloody race, an onslaught of European big-game hunters in Central Africa, was on to kill and stuff as many gorillas for their private collections by the thousands, or to capture live specimens for zoos. Meanwhile, in Paris, Frémiet became even more famous. In 1887, Frémiet, capitalizing on his earlier success, was celebrated for his second, but award-winning fantasy sculpture, Gorilla Carrying Off a Woman. This time, the abducted victim was a living, naked European woman to fuel even more outrage. In addition, his savage gorilla is given a primitive human attribute. The gorilla carries a stone weapon. Just 2 years later, in 1899, Joseph Conrad published his short novel, Heart of Darkness. In Conrad's book, a civilized European company man goes native in the African jungle of the Belgian Congo. In other words, insane. Africa as the heart of evil was seared into the minds of chauvinistic, ignorant millions, and nothing drew the crowds like a captive gorilla at the zoo to gawk at in fear, awe, and horror, remembering the final words spoken by Conrad's character Kurtz before his death, and imagining Frémiet's victim in the gorilla's grasp. All of this had a deep cultural impact, including in the United States of America. In 1914, the war to end all wars ignited in Europe, and almost as suddenly dragged most of the imperial world into the conflict with enthusiasm, but not the United States of America. Not when the Lusitania was torpedoed by a German U-boat in 1915. Not in 1916 when generals on European battlefields, with utter barbarity, managed to butcher their armies, animals, and civilians in the millions. Not in 1916 because Woodrow Wilson was re-elected president on a promise to keep America out of the European imperial war. Not until 1917. History was written before it even happened. Propagandists do not invent new ideas. They use what people already think, believe, and see. It is why Frémiet's and Conrad's imagery is synthesized into this U.S. Army recruitment poster, The Mad Brute, published on April 4th, 2 days before America's declaration of war on Germany. Meanwhile, the gorillas of Africa learned to avoid barbaric humans with good reason. They learned that humans had broken their covenant with nature.